are live.
Alrighty. So I finished moving some stuff around. Okay. So, revisiting for anybody watching at home, Ruckus, who plays Rogar, will be hopefully showing up a little bit later, but he's having to work a little bit late tonight, so we'll be continuing on the session with the other guys, the other four of you. But before that, we're going to go ahead and do recap for last session, as some stuff happened. So, last session, you met up with the realtor you had spoken to the day before, and went to investigate this property that was being offered to you. As you arrived, you saw that it was a bit run down, but a somewhat rustic and kind of nice guild hall. After exploring it, you decided to take it, and settle matters with the realtor as well as the local Waterdeep magistrate, and became brand new homeowners. The place definitely needed some work, namely in decorating. Some of the decor in there did not agree with the party, but all in all, this place would suffice as kind of a home base for your adventures going forward. With that, you spent some time doing some various things and such, drinking, and a couple of you went off to get some clothes that you had made for you by a local tailor. So after acquiring these clothes and making your way back, you discovered that the next council session would be happening the following morning. So with that, you got some rest and set off the next day to the next council meeting of Waterdeep. The mood of this meeting was a bit tense as well as somber compared to the last. The word of the dragon attacks had been spreading far and wide across the Sword Coast. The general populace was now very much aware something was going on, and it was no longer a hidden affair. The council seemed a bit haggard with the amount of work the members have had to do to control the populace to not panic, and it showed on their weary faces. There was some good news, however. The Arcane Brotherhood had come to the decision to lend their support to the council, thanks to your heroics in returning their long-lost information and books from the lair of Arathator in the Sea of Moving Ice. The news of Verum being captured and not killed seemed to please almost everyone, especially Ambassador Conrad Brondanvil, the representative of the dwarves of the Mithril Hall, whom had prior business with Verum for his transgressions against his fellow dwarven kind. As the council continued, you were introduced, or rather reintroduced, to a vaguely familiar face. Elia, whom you had met some time ago in the Yawning Portal, was at the council as well. You learned who she actually was now. Her real name was Otaaryliakkarnos, a silver dragon sent to the council at the behest of another council, a council of metallic dragons. She invited the council to send a small group of people to represent the Sword Coast Council at this meeting of dragons to plead their case. After a brief discussion, Maximilian volunteered your group of adventurers to go represent the council in this endeavor. After a few more minutes of discussion and back and forth, the council finally agreed to this plan. Elia said that you had to leave almost immediately after the session was concluded, as the metallic dragons were meeting in 3 days' time far to the east. When the council agreed that you would be their representatives, the session concluded, but not before Lady Laeral Silverhand urged you to try and secure the metallic dragon's support by any means necessary. Elia told you that she was leaving, or as she was leaving, that you had 1 hour to prepare yourselves, and then to meet her north of the city of Waterdeep. With that, you left the council chamber and made your way back into the palace proper. You were once again stopped as you were leaving by a familiar face. Delenn Winterhound, the representative of the Emerald Enclave, came up to talk to you. He spoke of the attacks upon the Misty Forest that you had heard about during the council session. King Melindranch, who rules the forest, had apparently downplayed them as a nuisance when they were in fact massacres. Delenn beseeched you to set out to the Misty Forest after your journey to meet with the metallic dragons was concluded, and to investigate a village called Altand. It was somehow spared from complete destruction, and he wanted to know why. After telling him you'd look into the situation, you began preparations to depart to this metallic dragon council. You arrived outside the north gate and saw Elia, motioning for you to join her off to the side of the road. She led you over a small hill to the west, out of sight of the main road and all the passers-by there. She claimed she didn't want to cause any more attention than was necessary. And as she said that, her form began to change and morph, brilliant silver light filling your eyes. As the transformation concluded, you witnessed a gargantuan silver dragon now before you. Elia's voice rang in your mind, telling you to climb on, and although all of you were pretty hesitant, you climbed onto the massive back of her. Cries of dragon and panic began to spread around you from the road and the city itself, and the silver dragon hastened to leap into the air and took off. A few moments passed, and as you peered off the side by her wings, you saw the ground was already far, far below you. You were well on your way to this meeting, and somewhat in style, on the back of a silver dragon. So at this point, you have found yourself traveling for a couple of days or so. Otaaryliakkarnos, as she is properly named, has spoken to you off and on, hearing things, kind of warning you, telling you a bit about who you'd be meeting. She said that this metallic dragon meeting is an ancient rite that has been called by Protanther, who is an ancient gold worm, a former king of justice, this royal title among the gold dragons. And he has invoked the right to this council and summoned leaders from all the different metallic dragon races. Otaaryliakkarnos said that she would be representing the silver dragons. Protanther would be representing the gold. A brass dragon by the name of Eleuthera would be there, representing the brass dragons. Representing the bronze dragons would be a male bronze dragon by the name of Mimir. And finally, the copper dragons would be represented by a female called Tasmakella. And I'll give you all those names real quick. Eleuthera. That's not right. My notes are wrong. There we go.
No.
And Tasmakella. Alright. So with that, once again, you've been flying for a couple of days at this point, just sleeping on the back of Otaaryliakkarnos as she's flown through the sky non-stop the entire time, not stopping to rest. Citing haste is needed as the council meeting will be happening soon. And since you all agreed to drop everything you were doing and leave, she was going to make sure that you got there on time. And of course, she is also a representative that needs to be present as well. So the beginning of the third day, the sun rising somewhat early for you, but then you realize that you're so high in the sky that it seems that dawn happens almost instantaneously instead of a slow build as normal. As you all begin to awaken, Elia talks again once into your minds, telling you that you're almost there, but she has been talking to another dragon. She's been speaking to Protanther via magical spells being sent back and forth. And she says that they must make a stop before reaching the meeting place proper, as he wants to meet you beforehand. So with that, another hour or so goes by, all of you gearing up for the day, eating some rations and such upon the back of the silver dragon. And then you feel her weight kind of shifting forward a bit, and your ears pop as you feel yourself sinking closer to the ground. The clouds that laid below you for almost the entirety of this trip start to slip all around you as you begin to go through them heading down. And as you do so, you find yourself knowing that you were heading to the northeast. She had told you that you were heading to the Nether Mountains, and that is where the meeting would be taking place there in an old forgotten fortress upon one of the mountains.
The Nether Mountains.
I'll move Gauss token up there.
Okay.
Which is, as you can see from the map, very, very far away. You've made this trip in 2 days. But as she descends, all of you kind of peering over the side.
2 days.
Yeah, 2 days.
Oof.
Yeah. She hauled booty.
It's cruising.
So, as the clouds begin to envelop around you, they start to clear, and you look down below you, and you see mountains as far as you can see to the west and east, and down below you. Here and there, you see vegetation, covered peaks and valleys and such, with water, beautiful scenery all below you. And you start to glide over all of this, heading further into the mountains. With that, you start to see glimmers down below you. You see different colors shining up from one of these valleys, where you see a river running off a waterfall and then running in a circle around it, and this kind of grassy area filled with trees and such, and you start to see glimmers. As you start sinking down towards it, you start to recognize these glimmers are moving, and the morning sun is shining off of several metallic dragons. As you descend into this area, you're able to get a quick picture of what you're seeing. You see... That's not the right map. You see 4 dragons down below you. Copper, brass, gold, and bronze. As you're looking, you see that they're kind of situated around on 2 of these smaller hills, seem to be sitting as if waiting for something. And Elia slowly drifts down the way. You see the gold dragon, by far the largest among all of these metallic dragons, sitting in the middle of the clearing. As you land, Otaaryliakkarnos landing on the ground with a bit of a bump. All of you kind of jostled a bit as she lands. But she kind of turns her head towards you all, motioning for you to get down here in the middle of this clearing. And as you do so, you hear this voice once again in your head, as Elia speaks to you and says, remember who you were presiding before. And she kind of glances to this gold dragon to her west. That is Protanther. He is the leader of this council and nobility among the gold dragons. Watch yourself, as he is the one that has summoned you here. As Elia's words finish, she looks down at you once again, kind of nodding to each of you, and then walks up to the north, presiding in between the brass and bronze dragons to the west and east of her, turning and sitting back on her haunches and looking down at you all, as you all start to hear this rumbling voice once again going through your heads, as it seems the gold dragon begins to speak. You didn't bring your bear with you, remember?
I thought we did.
Nope, you decided against it.
Okay. Yep. Mm-hmm. Then we...
Yeah, he didn't ride on the dragon.
Yeah.
You had specifically asked about that, and I was like,
yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yep. Alright, so once again, this rumbling voice begins to speak to you. It says, welcome. I am Protanther, the leader of the council, which you see summoned here before you. Later, we will meet in more refined and established quarters, but for now, I wanted to see who it was that Otaaryliakkarnos brought to see us, and who it is that the humanoid races selected to be their representatives. So, with that, he swivels this large head. You see tendrils of this gold, almost whiskers, draping down from his face as he scans over all of you. Says, two dragonborn, large Goliath, I think. A divine race in the Aasimir, and a Genasi, as well as her pets. Well, no matter. An odd bunch, I suppose, but one that our silver friend has spoken highly of. But your worth is yet to be proven, and that is why we are here in this valley. You will be welcome to sit at our table and discuss important matters with us, but only if you prove yourselves. We do not make tidings with those too weak to protect themselves, or too unintelligent to know when the danger is too great. What we face now with the cult and what they are trying to do will require both bravery but intelligence. Strength, yet restraint. So with that, your trial will be thus. As he says this, you see this gold dragon begin to shift off of its haunches, standing up on all fours, absolutely towering above you. And with that, Protanther lowers his head. First, strength must be proven. We'll continue from there. Try to kill me. And with that, I need everybody to roll for initiative.
I knew I had a bad feeling.
Oh boy.
Take away the bear. Leave the bear behind, he says. It'll be fine, he says.
Going last in initiative, he says.
Nat 20 on initiative.
Alright, go get him, Tiger.
Oh, I gotta play Rogar. Got it.
Well.
Alright, unload all the barrels, guys. Don't pull any punches here.
Well, I got it below my first turn, just activating my shit, so have fun in the second round.
What's my...
Alrighty.
What's it?
Did he roll? Nope. No.
What color is this in the bottom right? Is that copper?
Yes.
God, that's a nice looking dragon.
Mm-hmm.
They're all
was
really
puzzled.
good looking.
Yeah, I was super excited about using all these tokens finally. Alright, so... You see all of the other dragons still sitting relaxed on their haunches looking down at you, but the large golden dragon, this golden ancient worm, has obviously taken up an offensive posture towards you, demanding that you try to kill him. With that, we'll go ahead and start things off with Stone Skull.
Well, let's see. Is this incline going to be any trouble? The little ridge. Is it this one?
No.
Who was it?
Big boy to the west.
Oh. Oh.
The one that's
Thick
gold.
gold dragon.
Yeah. Make sure you realize this guy's bigger than them.
Yeah, I was thinking it was... Yeah, I was thinking it was the other one. Okay. Yeah. Gonna go ahead and take dash action.
Whoa. Hey.
One.
Mess
Shit.
around.
Tara and Max rolled d20s. Okay, dashing up.
Mm-hmm. And then that takes... Does that take away my second attack?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you gotta make the attack action first.
Okay. Then I'm going to action surge right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
And make... Oh, hold on. Before I do that, I want to rage. Then I want to action surge. Then I want to strike twice with Gleam Edge.
Okay.
So rage, action surge. 27.
Will hit.
That's probably gonna miss.
Yeah, definitely misses.
Okay. First one. 17 plus 2. So 19 damage. And he is marked.
All right.
And I think that's everything I can do. Yeah, that's all I'll do for here.
All right. So Stone Skull, hearing this challenge, looks around as this dragon is squaring up to the party and decides to go ahead and do as he was asked. Rushing forward, bringing out Gleam Edge as he charges across this battlefield, striking into this golden dragon once. As you do so, you see some flakes of gold scales coming off from your first attack, but as you bring it around the second time, Gleam Edge just bounces off the thick hide of this armor, or thick hide of this dragon, rather. We'll move on next. Max had the higher rolls. Yeah, you'll be next.
I'm going to take flight.
Mm-hmm.
And move vertically, 20 feet.
Okay.
And then I'm going to cast Fairy Fire on the space above the dragon. Say 20 feet off the ground, set another dragon. So just encapsulate him.
All right. That's what
Dex save.
Dex save. Okay.
Yeah.
25.
He will succeed.
Oh, that's still there we go.
Huh.
I was still whispering those rolls. I changed it.
Oh, and then I am going to give a point of inspiration to Stone Skull.
All right.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, that'll end my turn.
All right, Max, using his wings to start beating, lifting him into the air. Keep track of verticality. Basically, that number on the wing times 5 is how high you are off the ground.
Oh, okay.
So you're 20 feet up now. Pulling out this golden light, trying to mark him with fairy fire. Unfortunately, just kind of floats over his wings and such and then dissipates, seemingly having no effect on him. Tara. Tara? Hello?
I had to fix my mic, sorry.
No, okay.
I am going to use my bonus action to give Stone Skull an Aegis.
Okay.
Yeah. All the things.
And then I am going to Twin Spell Haste on Ignalia and Rogar.
Okay.
Then I'm going to use my movement to move back here.
All right.
And that will end my turn.
All right. So with that, Tara begins buffing the party, sending out these quickening movements out to Rogar and Ignalia, hastening them, and then retreating backwards as the earth begins to churn and spin around Stone Skull with this Aegis being cast upon him. Steve, you're going to only move forward. 40 feet is his movement. Got a lot of movement.
It's doubled. He's hasted. He's got 80 feet.
Yep.
Oh, haste doubles movement?
Yo.
Oh, I thought it was just an action.
Damn.
Speed doubled, plus 2 AC,
Mhm.
advantage on dex.
Mhm.
All right, well then Steve is definitely going to take off running, moving up, and is going to pull the gentleman out and attempt to attack him with it. I should have sneak attack. Yeah, because he's got 5 feet. Somebody within 5 feet, so that should be the right one. Yeah. 23 will hit, doing 31 points of damage.
22 points of
I think
damage
he gets
from
an extra
sneak. He gets 3
general
attacks.
attack.
Is it 3? Oh, it's 2 attacks
No,
plus
2.
his
Yeah, he
rapier.
only has 1 normally. Yeah, so he gets... Oh, he doesn't have extra attack. You should only have 2, I think.
Yeah, I only get 2.
Oh.
Yeah, he
Oh,
only
okay.
makes 1 attack per turn, so...
Oh, okay.
He will stab at him again with the gentleman. Not getting sneak attack this time. And this time the rapier glances off, and then he is going to bonus action disengage. 20, 25. Alright, he's going to move back there. So that seems safer than where he was standing. Okay. You see this gold dragon looking around, not even seeming to notice the flea bites that have been hitting him. He looks around all of you and starts out with his frightful presence. Everybody make wisdom saving throws.
I really hate this one.
Does that... How does that work with rage? Does that affect rage?
I don't think so. Just give you the frightened condition.
No, I just wasn't sure on the save if I had to with that. Wisdom save, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oof.
And Max failed. All of you failed. Okay. All right. So as he lowers his head, you hear this growl coming out, and then a mighty roar breaks
DC
out. All of you
25.
feel the presence of this ancient dragon being the most powerful thing you've ever felt going through your veins, your bones, your muscles. Everything tells you that you should be running right now. You all now have the frightened condition. At the end of each of your turns, you can make another wisdom save trying to break free of this frightful presence.
Which
But
just
with
means
that-
you can't get any closer, correct?
Can't get any closer, and attacks will have disadvantage on the source of your fear, which is the dragon.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's anything else. Let me double check. Pretty sure there isn't.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Does it affect concentration?
No.
Okay.
Unless you have to make an ability check. So
Yeah.
frighten, disadvantage on ability checks and attack rolls while the source of fear is within line of sight.
Okay.
And you can't move any closer.
Yeah.
All right. And with that, he turns towards Stone Skull, this rumbling voice, and says, "Brave, but foolish." And he makes 3 attacks against you.
Mm-hmm.
Lunging out with his bite first, 26 to hit,
Mm-hmm.
and then 2 claw attacks. 21, 33.
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
For 54 points of damage.
Okay. So
That's
divide.
15.
No. So that's halved because I'm raging. So 54 is 27. So minus 13, so 12. No, 14.
Minus whatever you get for Aegis.
Plus, so 10. Okay. Yep.
Okay. All right, 3 attacks going out, just rocking against your rock hard surface of your skin with all of these protections you have while raging. Still mighty blows coming down, rocking you back and forth. All of them landing cleanly. Definitely doing some damage, but not nearly as much as they would to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Ignalia.
Okay, I am going to use my first action to activate the Radiant Soul. Then I am going to... let's see, there's 5 of us.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to cast Bless at a 3rd level, so we all get Bless. So everyone can add a d4 to your attack rolls and your saving throws.
Just remember, y'all have blessed. I'm not putting another token on
got
your marker.
So that's 2 actions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you guys can see everybody.
I know this guy's immune to fire, so half my shit is useless.
Yeah, we're gonna zoom in here.
Yeah.
Give you a better view.
I will. I can't
Jake's
get closer
massive.
to him, but I can kind of skirt, right?
As long as you maintain distance.
You have to stay the same distance, that's all.
So you're 60 feet away, so you can't be any closer than 60.
Alright, so I'm going to move to about here. There we go. I'm down here. And yeah, that'll be it. So I'll repeat my wisdom saving throw. And a d4 won't matter on that.
Okay, sorry. Nephew needed help.
He
Alright,
repeated his saving throw but failed, and that's pretty
Okay.
much all that happened.
Alright, so you move down, starting buffing once again during this first round of combat, as you see Stone Skull being wailed on by a few attacks. Not really seeming like he's taking the full brunt of them for sure. But with that, you skirt around, just unable to get closer to him as you just see him rippling with power, and you are still frightened. Stone Skull, back to you.
And frightened, Stone Skull's gonna kind of grind his teeth together and kind of fight against it. He's going to make his 2 attacks. The first one, reckless. So it will be
Straight
a normal roll.
Mm-hmm.
17.
Will not hit.
Okay. Second one at disadvantage. 18.
15. 18, alright. Still doesn't hit.
Okay. I don't think there's anything else I can do here. Nope. And the mark drops because I didn't land a hit.
Okay. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Alright. Go ahead and make your wisdom save.
Yeah. Nope.
I don't think you can physically get out of this,
I
actually.
don't think so.
Yeah, you're just
Well, I
really-
have a plus
Your wisdom
3.
save?
I have a plus 3 to wisdom, so.
So you
Well,
need
to the
an
wisdom
18.
save, anyway.
You need an 18 for the
Mhm.
d4 to even get you there, possibly.
Yep.
Yeah. Alright. So once again, just unable to break this frightful presence.
You can use the bardic inspiration
That's
for
true.
for future
Yeah.
reference.
Yep, that's true.
2 attacks coming out, landing on this dragon, but you just cannot get through his thick hide. It is so tough. Gleam Edge just bouncing off, unable to cut through it. And you are still frightened. Max.
All right, so I want to.
It's a big
I'm going to start a bardic counter charm. It'll last until the end of my next turn.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to use an action to start it. And then any ally within 30 feet of me, while that during that performance, gets advantage on saving throws against being frightened or charmed.
Okay.
So I'm going to start my performance here. So Steve will be in it.
Okay.
And then I am going to move 10 feet in the air and 15 feet total, like of total movement because of the altitude change.
Okay, so you're moving up another 10 feet,
Yeah.
Okay.
Will leave me here.
putting you up to 30 feet. Okay.
And that it'll put me outside of Stone Skull. I won't be able to do
Mhm.
that this turn, but I will next turn.
Yeah, no, that's
It
fine.
will allow me to get Ignalia.
Alright.
And all right, well then instead of moving there, I'm gonna shift one more here, and make sure I can get Tara in there as well.
All right. So 3 of y'all will have advantage on your next wisdom save.
Yep. And then, as a bonus action, I'll give Tara a point of inspiration.
All right.
Yeah.
Inspiration.
There's so much good flavor in this too. Imagine fighting the dragon, like the visual of doing that.
Mm-hmm. All right. Anything else?
No, that'll be it.
All right. So with Protanther's attention seemingly away from you, you glide through the air, rising up, begin taking the antagonist through the air, making out these whistling sounds as you start this counter charm, radiating out this anti-charm magic around you, trying to envelop your allies and yourself against this frightful presence. Go ahead and give me your wisdom save with advantage.
I don't think
you
I
don't
get
get it.
advantage. Let me double check. I didn't read it specifically.
You could link it.
You and any friendly creatures with
Okay.
Mhm.
Cool. So
Oof.
hey, that's 18. I don't know why I rolled 3 times.
I don't either. Yeah. Unfortunately. Oh yeah,
Don't
bless
forget
is
to
still
be
a thing.
adding your bless. I don't think it would get you there, but just saying.
Yeah, it wouldn't.
20.
Yeah.
No, it's DC 25. That's right.
Yeah. So, with that, you still feel the fear coursing through your body as you keep your distance from Protanther, unable to break free of it, but trying to help your allies do so. Tara.
I have to say I'm going to use the inspiration before the roll, right?
No.
No.
Before it's declared.
Yeah, we figure out what the resolution is.
Oh,
Thank
The
you, Joe.
attack before I say hit or miss or
Appreciate the host,
whatever.
my friend.
all right. I am 70 feet away. Oh, yeah, we can do this. I am going to cast Erupting Earth. Actually, no, sorry, Terra Burst. Make it go off right here. And I'm going to do that and protect Stone Skull from the blast by doing it carefully.
All right. Ooh, 3 1s. Ouch.
Ugh.
Okay.
And I'm going to assume my construct wasn't affected by Frighten condition. I mean, I rolled for him, but you didn't mark him, so I didn't know.
I didn't see what he rolled actually.
Probably not.
No, yeah, no.
Oh,
Mr.
yeah.
Pebbles have a soul.
I don't know if Mr. Pebbles can be frightened, honestly.
That's what I was wondering.
I think constructs by definition really can't.
Yeah, I'm gonna say he's immune to frighten. All right, so you're launching that. Where were you planting that? I forgot.
Just right in front of him.
Right in front of him. Okay, he needs to make a dex save. 22. I think that's higher than your DC.
Yeah,
So he'll take half
yeah, mine's
damage.
16.
Half of 19 will be 9. Okay.
Eek.
All right.
I am going to send Mr. Pebbles that way as my bonus action. And then we're going to do this wisdom save.
All right. Got
Hey,
advantage.
I'm going to use my Bardic and my Bless.
Okay.
It's 4 for Bless, right?
Yeah, D4
Yeah,
for bless
D8.
and D8
Nice.
for 22.
Come on. Big money.
Oh! With the 23, unfortunately, it is not
Wow.
enough to break out. That sucks.
That
All right.
was the only chance I had.
All right. Still
Wow.
frightened, unfortunately, even with all the inspiration and the blessing, just unable to break free from this this frightened condition. Steve can't move any closer. He has a longbow. Why doesn't he have that in his? Oh, he does. Okay. Still hastened. Yeah, he's just going to make 2 longbow attacks. First one misses. Second one misses. I'm not even going to roll the disadvantage because both of those miss. So 2 longbow shots coming out from Rogar. Him shooting with disadvantage, just unable to get closer. You see him edging back a couple more feet, firing off 2 shots that just bounce. The arrows just break and crack as they impact against the scales of this gold dragon, unable to hit him. With that, you see Protanther look around, kind of staring over the battlefield, glancing at Rogar, and then looking down at the rest of you. You see him taking a step down. He raises his head up and blows out, not fire, you're surprised to see, instead just smoke flying out in a 90-foot cone directly out, encompassing all of you to the south. Everybody to the south make strength saving throws.
Fucking +10 and still rolled a 4.
"22, 24, 20, or 25.
Swear to God, everybody's gonna fail this.
And Tara. And Mr. Pebbles, too.
Sorry, what am I rolling?
Strength saves.
Oh,
Man, that was a horrible roll. Everybody
we should
rolled
be
higher.
cool on these. Oh, Mr. Pebbles.
All right.
Bless.
Yeah, roll your bless. All right. So as this
25.
gas spreads out amongst all of you, everybody is affected except for
Literally everybody.
Max, who with his bless has a 25.
At least a 25. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So, Max, you are not weakened, but everyone else feels the strength kind of leaving your body. You will have disadvantage on any strength-based attack rolls, strength checks, and strength saving throws for the next minute. At the end of your turn, you'll just be doing a wisdom and a strength save. And that is his turn.
Oh, darn, I have double disadvantage now.
Double disadvantage. Acknowledge.
Double disadvantage.
Scott desperately trying to
Really,
figure out what he can do.
Yeah, I'm sitting here going like, me, the fire user, staring at the gold dragon. I can't move closer.
Nope.
I already have a concentration spell. Yeah, no, I got nothing. Anyone want me to try to command them to move closer?
So you picked
I have
up
no interest in
like
being
a whole
closer.
monster?
I mean, he's just gonna resist it probably, but I can try.
I mean, it's something.
All right, well, might as well. With my
Whatever your top
action,
is,
I
it's alright.
will hold monster on him.
Okay. Wisdom save. Okay.
Yep.
28.
Yep, that beats it.
Okay.
And yeah, fuck it. I'll throw a fire bolt at him because screw this guy.
Okay.
Nope, look at that.
Okay. Anything else?
Nope.
All right. Strength and wisdom save. So as Ignalia standing back there, just staring in awe, horror, it's hard to tell, at this huge strength. Oh, okay.
Oh, wait,
Can't
I'm +4, so 18. Still doesn't work.
Okay. Just
Eh,
unable to
doesn't
do
matter.
anything. Alright, so unable to do anything, futilely tries to hold Protanther in place. You feel him easily breaking through your spell as it impacts his mind. And then as you hurl fire, it lands at his feet. You see him kind of not even noticing it there. And you're still frightened and messed up on strength. Stone Skull.
Because I'm not getting any closer to him. I'm still 5 feet away. I'm gonna move back here. Taking my 2 double disadvantage swipes.
Ooh.
Oh God, come on. 22 to hit on the first one.
Miss.
Okay. So this isn't fair, guys. We should run. We should run.
We're not gonna run. Strength the character.
He also said to determine if you are wise enough to know when to run away.
All right, so your first attack, as you bring Gleam Edge around, you start to see little veins of cracks going through, but you just can't break through the armor. Through these scales, you feel like you were very close, but just not quite there. As you bring the second one around,
23
he
AC.
lifts his leg, almost too agile for what you to think that he was quick enough to move, and you lunge past him. He is going to perform an attack of opportunity with one of his claws. 22 to hit.
Yep.
21 minus all your reductions and everything.
So
10 to start.
10 and then 6. Okay.
All right, and then strength and wisdom save.
Strength save at disadvantage. Per the spell. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And wisdom save. Holy fuck, I am...
You get advantage on wisdom save. No, you didn't.
No,
Sorry,
I
not
didn't.
All right. So Stone Skull just not having a great time. This adversary being very powerful. Max.
All right. Let's see.
This is a bad idea.
I am still. It's till the end of
we
this
need
turn.
to consider.
I'm still performing through the smoke.
Need to consider running.
And
We have
as a bonus action, I'm going to give Stone Skull another point of inspiration.
to. They don't stack, so
Yeah.
you'll have
Oh,
to
you haven't
wait.
used it?
No,
No.
Oh. Then
I'm saving it for a saving throw in case I feel like the D8 would get me over it.
Then I'll give it to Rogar.
Okay.
I hope they or no, sorry, another correction. I forgot Terry used hers.
Yes, Tara did use hers.
Yeah, right. I'm gonna give it back to Terry. And that'll be it.
This is rough.
Wisdom.
This is rough.
$17 ain't going to cut it.
Not enough, unfortunately. And you don't need to make strength check. Okay. All right. So still finishing
Hey,
through this. All
guess
right.
what?
Cool. Which one was that for? Since you're rolling it weird and not using your sheet.
I counter charm only gives me advantage on wisdom.
Okay,
So that's
wisdom.
for frightened.
All right.
So hey, I broke out of frightened.
All right. Okay. Alrighty. So Max continues on with his counter charm, trying to break free, just unable to do so, and not doing anything else. Inspiring Tara once again in an attempt to help her out. Tara.
I'm going to cast Gaia's Fist at the dragon. I'm going to use my inspiration on that. So 6. I don't think that's enough.
Isn't it a D8?
It's a D8.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll reroll.
24 will be enough.
24.
24 will hit.
For 25.
Okay.
Go ahead and humor us with that strength save. Have it.
Actually, I need to add one more D10 because I was supposed to be at 5th level. I cast it for. Oh, there you go.
He's too big to be affected by the second part of that spell.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Minus
And then bonus action, Mr. Pebbles will take a swing at it. Wait, why don't I see it? Oh, there they are. That's not going to hit. And
Mm-mm.
I don't think that's going to hit.
Neither hit, unfortunately.
Alright, so
Neither do damage. I'll put it that way.
here's that wisdom save. No, yeah, no.
All right.
And strength with plus
19. Still no. Alrighty. So with that, you all watch as this large boulder is hurled across this battlefield, slamming into Protanther, seeming to break a few scales loose, doing some damage to him. But the effect that you've seen before, able to push things away or slam them to the ground, seems to have no effect on him. And still frightened and everything. Steve, still frightened, can't do much more than that. He's just going to sit back with his longbow and attempt to hit again. He's doing
Plus
so.
1d4.
Oh yeah, he does have that. Well, let me roll one more time. Because he's doing this with disadvantage. 20 plus a d4. Ooh, 24 will hit. Alright, so damage for 33. And then one more attack at disadvantage. Roll 20. There we go, 16. And that'll miss. Yeah, there's the second one. Okay. All right, so Rogar, sitting in the back, still trying to land a shot, is able to do so, catching kind of up in the neck area of Protanther. As you see the arrow sticking in deep, breaking through the scales, hitting between a few of them, actually, as he gets the sneak attack. Fires off another one, but unfortunately that one does break off. And then he will perform a wisdom save. Yeah, he's still feared.
He should.
Well, yeah.
And then shits himself. All right. Protanther glances over at Mr. Pebbles and kind of shakes his head a bit, and then looks back down at Stone Skull. Says, "I gave you an opportunity to run. You should have done that." And he will make 3 attacks against you once again. 23, 25, and 35.
Mm-hmm. 15,
4.
30, 50, 52. So 16 minus, so 12. Okay.
$16. Where'd you get 16 from?
I'm sorry. So 30,
Maybe
50,
26 half
20,
with resistance.
22,
Then 22, right?
yes.
Yeah.
I was missing a few numbers there.
It was like 16. It's like, that was a pretty beefy attack. It shouldn't be that low. Alright. So 3 attacks coming out, hitting Stone Skull, landing strongly against him this time. His resistance starting to not be able to keep up with the sheer damage that he can do. But we move on from there to Ignalia, who's not feared.
30,
I know, right? Miracles happen.
25, 27.
And I will use my full hasted movement to get right up next to him.
2,
And as he's
no,
finishing
23.
taunting Stone Skull, I will just call to him and say, we know how bad the situation is, but we haven't proven ourselves yet. And I will, yeah, well, I'm just going to Flame Blade at disadvantage. 19 plus a d4. 22. Probably still misses.
Yep, rams off the armor.
Alright, and I will quicken spell and do it again. Alright, does not hit.
Okay. Still have one more attack with haste.
Oh. Yeah, I do, don't I? Alright. Oh. Nope. There was a chance.
Oh god, roll 20 just crashed, I think.
That's what you
But I
get
don't
for
see
doing
anything.
this to us.
I lost all of the names at the bottom.
Yeah, same. I'm hoping
Yeah.
it reloads. I don't want to refresh. Please don't make me refresh.
I'll refresh.
There's so much stuff I have to reopen if I refresh.
DC 25 to
Oh
reconnect
no.
Havoc.
Yeah, right.
I got the notification saying the connection to the server's interrupted. People are slowly coming back though.
Roll 20 was running so well, I was about to give it props.
I see a blank white landscape in front of me. I think I've died.
You've gone to heaven. Alright, attempting to refresh.
Oh, alright. I think mine's
So I
back.
don't want to.
And I'll go ahead and do my really sad strength saving throw.
I never saw your third attack. It didn't hit, right?
God, no.
Okay. Everything's reloading. Okay, alright.
So these are a disadvantage, right?
Yes.
Strength is, yes.
Alright, nope.
It's running super slow now, though.
Yup. It's going so well. Come on. Alright, I got the 2 character sheets open at least. Alright, so Ignalia, able to move closer now finally, but unable to just do any damage as her attacks seem to just be glancing off this thick golden scales coming out of Protanther here. Back to Stone Skull.
Okay.
There
Reckless on first. Joke. Not even worth it.
19.
Bonus action. Second wind. So 14 back. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Alright.
Repeat those rolls.
19. What is the DC on that?
25.
Do have inspiration.
Mm-hmm. Fucking hell.
Inspiration not working too well today.
That's how this whole game is going for me tonight. And then normal wisdom save. Yeah, that's a joke too. All right. Yep, I'm done.
We're also fighting
I'm
a
pretty.
gigantic dragon.
No, I'm
Yes.
done. I can't. I won't be able to do anything in this fight. I'm gonna be worthless. So good luck. I'm gonna stand here and keep taking shots
Alright.
and survive.
2
for a bit.
more attacks coming out of Gleam Edge, just unable to get through the armor. And still weakened and...
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I forgot to do something on my turn. Okay. Alrighty, Max.
All right.
Man, this one's rough.
I am going to. Was that? Yeah, Stone Skull. I am going to give Stone Skull as a bonus action another point of inspiration. Oh, I was like, why didn't my character sheet up? Is it reloaded? And then I'm gonna give my shot. And I'm gonna cast Banishment
Okay.
on the dragon.
31.
Oh. Yeah, give it a shot.
Give it a shot.
And that will end my turn.
All right. Wisdom save.
Hey Max, what's your spell DC?
6.
No,
9,
spell
sorry.
DC.
Oh, 17.
Yeah. So.
All right, he can nat 1 and still beat it, so take that for perspective.
Man.
When he rolls to attack, I don't even have to see a number. I just need to know if it's a crit or not. That's all I care about. Because every shot's going to hit. He has a plus 18. Every shot is going to hit me.
Unless he nat ones for the most part.
No, unless he nat ones, it's still a 19. But it's because we do critical failure rolls. That's the only reason I'm saved on that.
Yep. All right. So still feared. You try to banish this creature
Plus
to another
18.
plane of existence. You feel the magic seeping over his body, but then he just kind of ruffles himself and
I don't have to make one.
throws it off. No, he wasn't affected by that.
Oh, I thought it was everyone but Steve.
Nope. Steve was out of the line of sight, and Max made a save initially. So, Tara.
All right. We're gonna try another Gaia's Fist at level. And I'm still blessed, right?
Mm-hmm.
It'll hit.
All right. And I need to add the level thing to this, but then one more D10. So a total of 34.
Okay. All right.
And bonus action, I'll have Mr. Pebbles try again. That will not hit.
Will definitely not hit.
Mr. Pebbles is suffering today.
Yeah, Mr.
Same.
Pebbles is doing great.
He is not okay.
You have an automated rock fighting. And
All right.
for perspective.
Wisdom save. That's laughable. And then strength. Do I get to apply bless again?
Yep. You get it on all saves. all
So
that stuff.
20.
Nope.
Don't think that's enough.
Nope.
Alright, that will end my turn.
All right. So able to hit with another Gaia's Fist this time. The rock bursting a few of the scales away. Obviously doing a bit more damage than you've seen out of mostly everybody else. Once again, still feared. Cannot break through that and still at disadvantage with the weakening breath that has been sent your way. Steve's gonna jostle around this direction and fire off 2 more shots. Gonna miss. Ooh, that'll hit though. Sad. It's unfortunate that he misses nat 20. For 22. All right. Okay. So this is going on. You see Protanther just being dotted with attacks here and there. Still not seeming to notice too much of it. But with this, he looks back towards Rogar, seeing the arrow gritting into his side, looking around at the group of you. You see him leaning his head back once again, gouts of flame beginning to appear in his mouth, and then suddenly they dissipate and disappear. And Protanther lowers his head, surveying, swiveling it across his massive frame between the three of you closest to him, and looking through the rest of you. He says, well, much to learn still, but I don't think any more trial is necessary lest I end up killing you instead of just testing. And with that, he stands upright, looking down at you, kind of shaking back and forth. The arrows still stuck into his skin pop out from Rogar's attack, landing on the ground, as you see some of the scales kind of materializing and healing back onto his body. And with that, he surveys the rest of you once again and says, well, that was adequate, I suppose, for mere humanoids. And you find yourselves out of combat. Unless y'all want to keep going.
I jab my sword into the ground in anger.
All right. So with that, you see this terrifying enemy, even if it was a brief one, staring over you. He looks down and says, there was reasoning behind this trial. While I am not the strongest of the gold dragons still alive, I am among their number at the very least. Fighting me is equivalent to what you may have to face in the future if you go down this path any further. The fact that you did not run away solidifies my belief in your resolve, albeit it may be a bit foolhardy, but I suppose that's neither here nor there. But very well, you have proven yourself enough to join us at our table. And we will see if you have the intelligence needed to go forward in this endeavor. And with that, you see all the other dragons around them starting to look down towards you. None of them, aside from Otaaryliakkarnos, seem to really be paying attention to this fight much. The rest of them, it was more of a passing trial that they didn't really need to be a part of. They all look at you now as you're standing there. Some of you a bit messed up from a few of those attacks, but for the most part, most of you unharmed as you feel the weakening effects and the frightful presence emptying itself from you. As I remove all of your damn tokens, or little status effects. And with that, you see Protanther looking at you and then back at the other dragons. Says, very well, our business is concluded here. To the Nether Mountains, to the fortress, and we will get this meeting underway. You watch as not only Protanther, but the rest of the dragons, nodding up towards the gold worm leader of theirs, begin to rise up in the air, beating their powerful wings and rising up and heading off to the northeast towards the mountains proper. Elia moves down amongst you once again, landing. And as she does so, you hear her mind touching all of yours as she begins to speak. She says, well, it could have gone better, but could have gone worse, I guess. You didn't die, and that's really what matters. And with that, she moves one of her legs out, much as she did before at Waterdeep, for all of you to climb onto her back once again.
All right. Off we go.
Imagine Max is is kind of surveying the area with disdain. Really, especially with my background, I'm not super thrilled with exactly what just transpired here. I'm not enjoying what's going on with these dragons in the slightest.
Okay. Are you voicing that?
I want to, if we have the opportunity to speak with Elia alone.
All right. So as you all climb onto the back of the silver dragon once again, she alights into the air, gaining altitude until you're several hundred feet in the air, and then flies towards the mountains themselves. Once again, you hear her speaking to you in your minds, and she says, "It'll be another few minutes still before we arrive at the fortress. What were your impressions of the others?"
I'm, and just kind of, do I have to speak? You know what? I imagine I'm just going to yell, like against the wind. Like I'm still going to use my mouth. And screams, why the hesitation? If they know the threat, why must more trials still be put in front of us before they offer aid to a problem that they could easily help solve?
With that, you feel a kind of amused expression crossing your mind as her psychic touch of her voice radiates within your mind again. She says, "You seem to be thinking about us in a flawed manner. Most of us want to attack the cults now. Raise all of our forces, bring them in, and wipe the threat from this plane. But there are some among our number who think that may be a foolish errand. While we may succeed, our might is typically greater than that of the chromatic dragons here in Faerun, or here on Toril, rather. We may lose many of our number, whereas if we made an alliance with the humanoids, this council of Waterdeep, it would be beneficial not only to us, but also to you, to work together instead of alone."
Again, like more kind of frustration in my voice, saying, you know me, or at least I'm sure a number of you know what I am. And I have an understanding of thinking in longer terms than us mortals. But this perspective has given me, a new lease on life and what it means. And for you to do nothing means you don't value life. You must sometimes put it on the line.
With that, you feel the presence once again, this time with a bit of irritation. It says, "I do not forget what you were, but what you are now is not that. We all value life. We are made in his image to do so. That is why I, as well as others, do not want to sacrifice lives needlessly. It would be in your benefit to remember that. While we could crush this cult ourselves, I believe that working in conjunction with the Council would be more beneficial. Others do not think so. And we may very well end this day by raising a war council afterwards to work by ourselves. Beneficial to you or not."
And, that is a mentality that I fear at one point I shared. And I wish above all things that should this trial that I'm in end, that I not carry that sentiment along with me. And, just when we reach there, it seems we will have convincing to do. And we are on the same team with the same fight in mind. Just this mortal coil has come with anxiety and a desire to do things now and quickly that I don't feel I share with you anymore.
With that, you don't hear her respond to that, but you get the feeling of some understanding and deep patience, a feeling coming from her mind that you can kind of surmise comes from being a race of dragons, ones that live for thousands of years and obviously do not share the mentality of mere mortal humanoids that don't live quite as long.
It's something I feel I got a slight grasp on, but not, trying to
Not
bridge
quite there.
Yeah.
All right. So with that, you fly for another 30 minutes, a little bit longer maybe, and you're soaring through below the clouds now. You're able to look over the edge and see this mountain range of the nether mountains below you. As you're flying through them for several miles, going a bit slower, that you can definitely tell you're not moving at the pace that Otaaryliakkarnos was carrying before. You start to descend once again, and as you get closer to these mountains, flying through a few of the peaks surrounding you, you start to see a building in the distance. As you get closer, you start to make out the distinctions, the details of it. You see strong walls built with heavy stone surrounding what's closer to looking like a palace than a stronghold to you. You see tall spires reaching up here and there to high peaks, 100 feet in the air. As you get closer, you see that there are vast courtyards on either side, very large ones that you can see as you're getting closer, dragons landing in. But not only the ones that you saw, these large ancient ones, but also smaller ones, all of them of the metallic facade of the dragon. As you get closer, a few of them clear as Elia brings you down, landing a bit more lightly, for sake of you all riding on her back. And as you get down to the ground and sliding off of her back down, you see you're surrounded by gold, copper, bronze dragons, other silvers as well, all around you, kind of looking. A lot of them are much younger than the ones that you saw in the clearing. But some are still almost as large as Elia is, though you can't spot any that are as large and as menacing as Protanther was. A few moments pass, and then you see the silvery light that you saw before, just north of Waterdeep, that's such a hard name. Otaaryliakkarnos resumes her elven form into the guise of Elia. As she resumes this form, her dress, this flowing silver once again, she looks towards you all and says, "Well, we are not to waste any time here. Be prepared, because before it was just a test of might, now your minds will be tried as you try to decipher the words of dragons." And with that, she promptly turns around and starts walking into the fortress.
Is that a polite way of saying we shouldn't go in?
No, she was essentially inviting you to follow her.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I thought it was maybe like, now you maybe know what it is. Yeah, we want to kind of tighten, the cloak and stuff around me and look as presentable as possible.
Okay.
Make my way in.
I follow after, and I'm gonna send Max a message so only he can hear, and just say, curious how they put on a show and bring us to a very impressive landscape, and yet they don't seem to value our lives at all.
Just kind of turn my head back and, as a nod and then just a snarl. Just showing my displeasure, like agreement with what he's saying and my dislike for it.
All right. Everybody following in?
Yep.
Yes.
Rogar, yep. All right. So you make your way into this place. You see that it looks like this establishment, this palace, this stronghold, is very old. As you walk around, you see tapestries depicting metallic dragons, usually depicting scenes of them living among mortals, among humanoids, showing like their dragon form behind them and then their assumed form of elves or humans and such, down below conversing with other people. You see others where depicting hordes, great hordes of treasure and gold, with golden and silver and bronze dragons sat upon their hordes. As you move through, you can definitely get some scenes here and there of intricacy in the pillar work, in the granite work beneath your feet, as you walk across these massive granite tiles. You kind of attribute it to things you've probably seen before or heard about as possibly maybe elven work or even dwarven. It's hard to tell exactly. But what you do feel is that everything around you is very ornate and has been taken care of despite its age. You continue on through the fortress itself, moving through different halls until you start to see light shining through the dim corridors up ahead of you. You find yourself moving towards a large meeting hall. You see a very large table set upon in the middle of this room. As you look down to it, you see mosaic tiles dotting the floor all the way across, massive pillars leading up to huge arches surround it, and the outer walls are huge, floor-to-ceiling painted glass, letting in golden and silver rays of light through it. It strikes you as very beautiful, very peaceful looking, and then you remember why you're here, and your mood sours a bit again. As Elia leads you forward, you find yourself moving forward to this table where you see not dragons, but several humanoids sitting. You see a bit of a mixture here. You see a few humans and a couple of elves as well, with Elia included among their number. Sitting at the head of the table is a bit of an older man, based on his stature and such. You see gray dotting bits of his golden beard. And based on his physique and where he's sitting, you can only recognize this as Protanther. Sat next to him, you see another male, donning a elven expression. He's wearing brass filigree all across him, with this kind of copper-esque look of his clothing. And you recognize, based on the way he perks his eyes up and his eyebrows kind of set a bit, much like his dragon form, as Eleuthera. Elia, or Otaaryliakkarnos, moves over to sit next to him. Once again, her elven beauty and silver dress marking her as the silver dragon representative. Next to her, you see another man sitting there looking a bit younger than the others at this table, but with a bit of a smile on his face as he looks towards you all. A very pleasant, very warm smile. As he looks at you, you see him raising a hand kind of as a greeting as you start to move down the stairs towards them all. Based on his clothing and the very darkness of his hair, you recognize from the stripes going down the bronze dragon, Niamr. And finally, seated across from him on the other side of the table, you see another female, this one once again, another human guise taken upon her. But you see copper coins kind of set in as braces on her attire, and you recognize this as probably Tasmikella. All right. And lots of theater of the mind if you didn't pick that up already.
Oh, yeah.
So, as you all move in, I imagine this table's obviously a bit bigger, has more chairs. You all find yourself sitting down at the table with all of these very old and very powerful dragons as they look over you as you sit down. And as everybody finally gets settled, a now familiar voice of Protanther speaks out loud as this older man at the head of the table looks at you all. Says, well, we've mostly made up our minds already, but being as you do represent the humanoids that we share this land with, then we shall allow you to speak and to present your case. Why is it that we, the proud metallic dragons of this land, need to share in this fight or offer any regard to any of you? We will not attack you, of course, but I see no merit in working together with any of these factions, especially the ones with leaders so corrupt and ever-changing minds and hasty thoughts. I see no reason to cooperate with you. But that is what we're here to discuss, so present your case, then.
I'll be right back, Chad.
Just Max steps forward. And I'm sure you've seen already the lands that have been corrupted by the cult. What they've taken, what their plans are. There are only a few of us mortals that are trying to stand up against it. And while we stand up against it now, we won't be able to forever. And then the ones that we protect, those weak, that need a leader, that act in haste, will have no choice but to align with the cult. And there is a chance that if given long enough, it would be a force larger than even this council would be able to take on.
As you say that, you see everyone at the table listening. Everybody give me perception checks. No worries.
You
Steve.
are Rogar.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Gotta remember that. Perception. Always roll at this event. Alright. Yeah, 20. Alright. Everybody but Tara and Max, you're kind of glancing around as Max is speaking, and everyone, all the dragons seem to be listening. You do notice them listening, but eyeing all of you over for the most part, sizing you up in a more meaning manner, I suppose, now that you're all sitting around the council table. Ignalia and Rogar, you do notice that the representative of the Copper Dragons, Taz McKella, is paying special attention with a bit of a look of disdain across her face as she looks at Maximilian and Rogar. Oh, please don't back. Okay. Max, as you finish speaking, Protanther nods and says, I agree. We have seen the destruction that has happened. And I think that if any more time is given to the situation, then more of these hasty humanoid cities and establishments may join the cults, making them even stronger than they are now. That is why we want to strike immediately and take them out. But we have heard word from your council via Otaaryliakkarnos here that they need more time to gather their reserves, work on their forces, make more alliances and such. We are not a hasty species, as you well know. But even we can see that the time is right now for them to be struck hard, fast, and with dragon fire. I, once again, see no reason to wait for this council to finish their plans and move forward with them.
I mean,
As he's saying
great.
that, Elia chimes in. And as she does so, she looks around at Protanther and then looks around at the rest of the council table. And she says, well, while I do agree that more than likely we could exterminate the cult presence ourselves if necessary with our gathering force, but I do believe, as we've discussed before, the sacrifices that will need to be made will be far too great. Many of our kind will die if we go headlong into this attack with only our number to count as allies. That is why I am in favor of relying on the council and working in conjunction with them. As she presents her case, you see the other man, Ymir, piping in, still with that warm smile on his face as he glances over all of you. He says, unlike most of you, I have spent much time among humans, elves, the other races. I know that they do have the propensity for foolish and hasty actions, but my friends that are in Waterdeep now, I believe our new friends here, as he looks at all of you, have met one of their kin the Silmarhill family I do count as friends, and they have reported that the Council's actions and lack thereof up to this point are calculated, and there is meaning behind them. I agree with Otaaryliakkarnos in this facet that we should wait and work alongside them. We will only be stronger, and we will have more allies to count amongst us if we are to do so.
What's a quick tally of how many dragons we've killed? Like,
4.
Killed or fought, because I think a couple ran away.
Yeah.
well, yeah, Orator ran away, but we killed a white, we killed a red.
We killed
How many
2
more?
white dragons.
I've killed one, made one run away.
And killed a young red. Were there any more than that?
Fought a blue. It ran away.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Alright. So I think at that, Ignite will kind of step forward, and she's gonna step into the space kind of between Max and Rogar and the copper, and kind of just coolly gaze over the copper, but address the whole table, and just kind of start listing off, vague numbers of, the dragons that, we've encountered, the ones that, we've actually extinguished, talk a little bit about taking back the castle of the giants, and then just say, the cult might be gaining force with every moment, but it's not as if our efforts have gone unnoticed or, haven't done much to hinder that progress. The time to strike would have been, months, perhaps years ago, but it clearly didn't happen. There's no reason for us to not work in conjunction.
And as you're explaining it, you see all of them looking at you and a couple of them nodding, seemingly in agreement. As you're coolly looking at Taz McKella, she still kind of eyes you, and then her gaze kind of centers back over between Maximilian and Rogar, glancing back and forth between them. Still that look of a bit of disdain, not hatred per se, but just a little bit of disgust looking over them. As you finish speaking, Eleuthera, the brass dragon representative, chimes in. He says, I've been alive a very long time, and I have seen many things in this long life of mine. I've seen humanoid civilizations rise and fall, and threats to the world and this plane of existence, as well as other planes, go to and from, with either the threats being carried out or being stopped by heroes such as yourselves, as he glances at all of you. So that being said, I do worry that my belief that all humanoids have the propensity for good and evil, with the continuing threat of this cult still growing, and if we wait longer, I do worry if more may join their side. And that being said, the ultimate problem here, while there are not many reasons to not work together, the biggest is timing. Many of the dragons want to attack now. As soon as our forces are rallied, we will launch an all-out assault on the Well of Dragons and hopefully squash the threat there, at that point in time. If we were to work with this council, as you all want us to, he glances at you as well as Elia and Yummer, we would have to wait longer, and we may have instances where more may join this cult before we are ready for this full-on assault. So, why should we wait, is what I ask you.
Tara's gonna step forward and say, well, simply just that. The chance of failure if you guys attack alone or if we attack alone. We have a much, much better chance of success against the numbers they already have, and more if we're both together.
I'll add on to that and just say, any who would join the cult now are likely doing so out of fear. It is not your job to protect our lands, but any, countermeasures that could be taken to safeguard them, well, that would likely stem the tide of how many reinforce their numbers. Besides, however many they may possibly gain in such a time would not equal the amount of force that we're allowed to offer for working together.
With that, you see a few more nods back and forth as you speak once again. Then you see the copper, the one that you've been kind of standing and looking at, begin to speak. Her voice kind of rings out in a higher tenor as she looks around at you all. Says, I've heard much about your endeavors up to this point. Namely, this assault upon the Flying Castle. There was a horde there, was there not? One that belonged to the dragon there?
There was.
Frozen over in ice.
With that, Taz McKellen nods, says, yes, I thought so. And it seems that that was not the only one. I've heard dealings that much wealth has been stolen and presumably taken to this Well of Dragons. If your forces in this council were to assault the Well of Dragons and ultimately succeed, what is to be of all of this wealth that has been accumulated there?
To the easy answer is to the victor go the spoils.
As you say that, you see Taz McKella kind of eyeing you, her eyes slanting just a bit. Says, yes, quite. But how is it to be spread apart? I'm sure that your leaders within the council, of course, are not just going to give it back to the people. Armies are expensive to feed and pay.
I think Ignai's actually going to laugh a little bit and kind of address the rest of the council and say, how self-assured we must be of victory when this one talks of taking of the spoils already. I thought we were concerned about lives, not wealth.
As you say that, you see a couple grins coming up from a few of the dragons, and Taz looks up at you, her face kind of set. Says, we will be victorious one way or another. If it costs metallic dragon lives, then so be it, but any wealth or hoard that may be there in the Well of Dragons will be ours for the taking. As your friend said, to the victor go the spoiled. Making an alliance with this council and with you all means that we will not get it all. We are dragons, after all. Assurances must be made.
The only, the discussions can be had about that at a time that is appropriate. The only assurance that we can make you is that every moment that we waste bickering over wealth is time that the cult is using to try and summon Tiamat.
Stone Skull's been silent since the thing before, and he kind of looks up at the other dragons and says, you won't attack the other dragons for fear that the realm will think you are the new evil.
As you say that, Stone Skull, you see Protanthus, who's been silent up to this point, listening to everyone. His face sets with grim determination as he eyes you up and down. Says, you need to be wary of who you claim to be evil. While the threat is assuredly one that threatens us, we are not doing this attack, or planning this attack, rather, for our sake alone. We do it to save lives all across the Sword Coast, to even the humanoids and the other races, but also ourselves. We do not do it out of selfishness.
Stone Skull looks and says, I think you are misinterpreting what I'm saying. You need us to go in so it doesn't look like you're provoking a war between the dragons. If the people are already terrified of dragons, they'll continue to be so if you take over in their position.
And with that, Protanther kind of raises an eyebrow, looking you over, as we do not plan to take over, as you put it. Simply quash the threats. There's been a war for millennia between those of the chromatic and us of the metallic races of dragons. That has never stopped. This is just a rising point of it, I suppose. We are simply carrying out what we normally would do, but in more force.
While he's talking, just say, is then wealth then the last question? If we say yes, and it's yours, and we will take our expensive armies and leave, then your answer is yes, then that you will help us.
With that, Protanther shakes his head slowly, says, it is not that simple. There are many among your council who, maybe not themselves, but their kin, have performed transgressions over time. Without recompense, I see no way for us to work in conjunction with them. They cannot be trusted otherwise. For instance, long ago, as maybe some of you read in your history books and such, but for I saw with my own eyes, there was an event called the Draco Rage Mythal, carried out by the elves of this land. It devastated all dragons, not just the metallics, not just the chromatics, but all of them. It was a pointed attack at our race. How would I, who saw that and remember it as clear as if it was yesterday, how could I work in conjunction and even trust elves?
Surely those who committed those atrocities are not amongst the ones now asking for your help. Kin, perhaps.
With that, Protanther raises an eye. There is one among your council who was alive back then. This so-called King Melandrach.
What would you need to satisfy you that this would be the right thing, that time has shown him the wisdom of his follies, or to gain an attempt to be as wise as you are now?
With that, Protanther crosses his hands over the table, thinking for a moment, looking down at his hands, and then looks back up. If he has learned from their folly before, from the Draco Rage Mythal, then he would have no problem writing an apology for those actions. Apologizing to not myself or any other specific dragon, but to all for their misdeeds.
Ignali will speak up and just say, well, I'm a fan of apologies, but might I also point out that while I would like such a thing to occur, an attack indiscriminately against all dragons likely means that they saw no distinction between the two. Working with the humanoid races would, well, surely gain you some favor in that regard, and they might understand there is a difference between the two sides.
Basically
the-
what Stone Skull was trying to get across.
Yes.
With that, you see a couple nodding, Elia as well as Niamur. But Brotanther kind of looks up at you and says, well, that was well put. I still cannot bring myself to trust someone of the elven race, as well as armies of them at my back if I am to go into battle with them, without some kind of recompense for that folly so long ago.
If I were to have it my way, I would already have the apology for you. I just want you to be aware of how I see the way things lie.
And with that, he nods, says, I understand your viewpoint, but you're speaking of things that can be done, and I am speaking of things that have been done. There is a distinction between the two.
Yes, and one can repeat itself as well.
Which, of course, would be disastrous. And something as small as an apology for representatives of this council should be no small feat, yes?
Yeah. Perhaps a small feat, but we can do all that we can, attempt. And if for some reason that was beyond what he was willing to do, I'm not sure he would have my backing. And I kind of just look to the rest of them.
Kara cracks her knuckles. No, I wouldn't think he'd have a problem with it overall.
With that, you see Protanther looking over your wall, and you see just a slight bit of a raise to the side of his mouth. The most that you probably are going to get of a grin out of him. And he nods as well. If that would be no trouble, and that would help to solidify my belief that we could work in conjunction with each other. That being said, I believe there are others here that have had transgressions done to them in the past.
Perhaps they would like to speak up, and I'm just going to stare back at the copper dragon. Very defensive of my homeboys.
Make another perception check, Ignalia.
Remind me again, what color was the dragon that attacked? I don't think I do have that somewhere, right?
Dragon that attacked
what?
where?
My family.
White.
Yeah.
And you found him and killed him.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah.
You wanted perception, right?
Correct. And we'll roll.
I mean, should I even bother?
No, it's just for Ignalia.
I mean, I got some. These dragons aren't stupid. They did have some intel. The only reason we're meeting with them is like, all right, these guys have gone toe to toe with a couple of them and come away on the winning side every time.
So as you're looking over Kaz McKella again, you see her eyes kind of darting back and forth between the two Dragonborn of the party. You and Rogar are both able to notice kind of an odd sight upon her face, but would make much more sense if she was in her dragon form. You see her nostrils flaring a bit as she's taking in a smell, and you see her eyes wandering down towards the rapier at Rogar's belt. As Protanther concludes, he looks out pointedly towards Elia, Otaaryliakkarnos.
Only
He
blood.
says, I believe there was something you had much the same desire for as I did. And as she looks over, she glances at the group of you and sighs a bit. And she says, long ago there was a war that happened that I was part of. Some of the dwarven kind got it in their heads that all of the dragon race were evil, not just the chromatic, and they sought about wiping us out from their mountains. My kin was slain by one of these dwarven clans, and her body was defiled in such a way after she was slain and turned into armor, of all things, for the dwarven lords. While I do agree that we should work together, I would see it that the dwarves are excluded from this. Those of the Mithril Hall do not have my support. Unless those past transgressions are apologized for, and the remains of my kin are returned.
Your ask is great, and not unjust, but to ask that of us
Thanks, Stay
to
Hydrated
promise
Bot.
at this moment is something we can't provide.
With that, you see Elia's eyebrow raise a bit as she looks at you and tilts her head. Were you not given the responsibility of being the council's representatives?
To speak on much larger matters, there will be a conversation had, and you'll be satisfied one way or the other. Either we can get the remains in the form of that armor back to you, or the dwarves will not participate.
With that, you see Elia's face setting a bit, much like Protanther's did, in this grim determination. She says, "This is the meeting. This is the time, and this is the place. The concessions will be made here and now, or not at all."
I kind of lean over.
We do a huddle.
I lean over to Max and say, kind of just out loud, Orator was pretty large. I suppose we could always fashion replacement armor that is a little less sensitive out of him. And then I lean and just look back over to Elia for her reaction to that.
She shows none. She's still just staring at Max.
I think what Max was trying to say is going to go back to the and we have to twist some arm, but some of these guys may not agree, and we may have to just give them the boot from the council.
She's saying that there's not another time.
Yeah, she's saying we have to basically commit our word and then make it happen.
You all are, like I said, just give you a little background. Like I said, you're speaking to ancient dragons or older. These are extremely proud beings. And you have been allowed, not earned, not anything like that. You were out of their grace, their good graces, you were being allowed to be here. Otherwise, they would just continue on with their plan that they already have. So it makes sense for even Elia, one that, for the most part, you've counted as friend, at least to yourselves, if not the entire council, is essentially demanding that this be settled here and now, one way or the other, and not later.
Then
I've made my suggestion.
If a decision must be made, then the dwarves will not grace the battlefield or come anywhere out of their mountains while you are present.
With that, you see Elia kind of sitting back in her chair, and one shoulder kind of rises in a shrug. Says, if an apology can't be made, if you as the representatives cannot promise that, then I suppose I understand, but I cannot trust the dwarves without such being done beforehand.
Max, why don't we simply have the dwarves forge new armor? They might take it as a replacement.
It's not.
If we are missing the elves because of one and dwarves because of the other, we'll have half of an army and then none at all.
She's going to want their armor, and at this point, it's going to be ceremonial armor important to the dwarves. They're not going to give it up lightly, if they give it up at all.
No, but it is also possible that they can earn new ceremonial armor in a better way.
Either way, if we don't return with the armor, then we have went against our word.
And there's a chance that dwarves will say yes, and then we'll be able to satisfy and have a greater force. So, to me, put on the spot. The answer
They're-
is no dwarves.
Yeah, they're basically forcing us to give them an answer on how somebody's going to react, and we have no idea because we barely interacted with them.
Yeah, and
So-
I mean, if we go
Also,
back to the dwarves and say,
That's bound to
like-
cause one of us to murder them.
Mm-hmm.
right? But I mean, if we had the same conversation with the dwarves and just say, hey, look, you either sit this one out, or you hand over the armor. Like, I think that's an easier conversation than not be able to fulfill a promise in a room full of ancient dragons. Like, I want to make sure we, is she satisfied with that answer? I mean, that was an and/or, right? Or is that
You haven't seen her mood shift like it did with Protanther.
Yeah,
Does
I want to
anyone have
explain
any
that line
knowledge
of
of these events?
reasoning, saying, does the armor, is it armor crafted in the same way, or I want to get to the heart of it. Is it she wants these sets of armor that were made from her kin?
Elia leans
Or
forward
don't.
and has a bit of a disgusted look on her face. She says, "The armor, or the remains of my kin, was turned into armor for the Lord of the Mithril Hall. It is passed down from generation to generation as some keepsake. It must be returned. She
Again.
must be put to rest."
If they're using it as honored armor within the Mithril Hall, yeah, that's not happening. Stone Skull is...
Hey, that's side quest. We're going to steal a set of mithril armor.
I just
From the
heard
Mithril
Rogar
Hall.
agree. Y'all heard that too, right? He's gonna
Mhm.
sneak in and get it, right?
Yeah, I just turn. I'll just say if that is what it will take to satisfy you and to build a bond between humanoids and dragons, then it will be so. Like,
All right.
we're committed to ending this threat.
With that, you see Elia nodding towards you, not quite smiling as she looks at you and says, "I expect it would. I would not have any qualms working alongside the dwarves, even though it would pain me to do so, but I would do it for this purpose if those conditions are met." With that, you see Protanther looking over at the bronze representative, Ymir, and says, "Ymir, did you have anything? I know that you do look fondly upon the humanoids." And with that, Ymir kind of leans back. You see him still with that same smile he's had this entire time, this very warm and welcoming smile. He shakes his head. He says, "No, I support working alongside them completely. I have no transgressions against me," and he looks over at a few in the party. I've heard much about them, and they're good people, good, righteously aligned ones that will help us out. And he glances at Protanther and Elia. Says, "I believe that they will be true to their word as well. But of course, you do know what a predicament you are putting them in. But so do they, I suppose." And with that, he leans back, obviously satisfied already.
I like him.
Yeah, you're gonna put two and two together later and realize what happened with that guy.
Yeah, I was kind of gonna ask insight because I thought maybe he was lying, but
Roll an insight check, yeah, just to see if you could figure out why he seems so cheery with you. So you'll remember you spoke to a noble after the first council of Waterdeep, Dala Silmerhelv, who gave you a lot of information regarding the Drakhorn, but wouldn't tell you where she got her information. And he spoke of being friends with the Silmerhelv family. So 2 and 2 together.
Man,
friends in high places.
yeah.
So as that
networking.
goes... Yep. Mm-hmm. So with that, Ymir, once again with a smile, looking over all of you fondly. Protanther's gaze switches over to the brass dragon representative, Eleuthera. Him sitting there, looking over, he says, I have no qualms and such as these others do. I require no concessions along that line, but I have heard tell of these artifacts that the cultists have in their possession, these worm speakers. They have these masks in their possession. Masks that have the ability to sway a dragon's thoughts to be in line with theirs. You can understand why such artifacts would cause us unease. The only concession I would ask for is that any masks that you or your council finds, or any masks that are claimed after the battle is over at the Well of Dragons, are given to us for safekeeping. They will be locked away for all time if I have my way, but they will not be out for others to use against not only us, but other free-thinking species in the world. Does that seem like something that could be arranged?
I mean, I have no personal love for the masks. I don't feel like having such an artifact is something necessarily warranted or even necessary for, the humanoid races.
Yeah,
I believe.
could understand
I
why
kind of
you
believe
want to have
removing
it.
such a thing would be, that doesn't seem like double-sided to me. That would be like, getting rid of this like immensely powerful artifact over your entire race is kind of like a good friendship bond.
Oh yeah, because we don't need it, nor should we want it, and you should have it. Like, so,
Anyone who
talk
desires
about
such a
level of
mask
trust.
is likely to garner some unfavorable attention from us. And that, then I'll look over to Max and the rest.
Okay. So basically agreeing that the mask could be turned over then.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, that's our strongest agreement yet.
Yeah, 100%. We not only are we in agreement, we want you to have them. We are going to go out of our way to try and get them for you, so you can keep them. Like, yes, adamantly yes, please.
To be
Take
fair,
these
Max
things.
is a dragon spy in our ranks.
Alright. So is your... Oh, wait. Yeah, okay. So is this somewhat wizened-looking brass dragon looks at you and a bit of a smirk crosses his face, says, Good. I'm glad that we could come to a quick agreement on that then. So with that, I have no issues with working alongside the humanoids, and as long as the masks are delivered, then you have my full support. And as you look around, you still see, namely Rogar and Ignalia, Tazmakella eyeing Rogar solely now and staring at his rapier. But with that, we're going to go ahead and take our quick 5-minute break.
Yay.
So I forgot that we haven't taken one yet.
Yeah.
Because RP.
I had to go to the restroom, and then my
Say
wife
Pete.
gave me Thin Mints and Bieber.
Alright, quick 5-minute break, and we'll come back to this.
Yep. As the man
Nice.
said, we are going to take a short 5-minute break. When we return, we will pick up the rest of the council meeting and then proceed onward. So don't go anywhere.
Man.
All right, so we're getting ready to come back here. Everybody is here, including Ruckus, who has made it back. I think we're about ready. Is Havoc back?
Oh, I've been back. I've been
Right.
listening to y'all
Just
go on for a
listening.
little
You
bit.
know, but,
Havoc. Sarah says hi. She's watching.
What? Oh, Sarah.
You,
Hi,
you
Sarah.
probably remember her from
Yeah.
such episodes as my 30th birthday party.
Mm-hmm. That time we
yeah.
all got fucked up and couldn't walk. Oh, wait, that was just me.
No, that wasn't just you. If you remember, when everyone put their or closed their
All right.
eyes for werewolves,
So
I
we're
snuck
back
off to
to
my
it.
bed and passed out.
So welcome back,
Sounds
everybody.
like the right way to categorize this.
Yeah, right. It did it first, but as you kept going,
All right.
out there.
This is a great idea.
It was not a great idea.
Not a great idea.
All right. So Ruckus is back. Hi, Ruckus. How are you, bud?
Good. Tired.
Good. All right. Cool. Well, wake up because D&D's happening. So
Just
quick
in
overview.
time.
Yeah, just in time. So quick
did you
recap
do?
of what's happened so far this session. You arrived in the Nether Mountains on the back of the Silver Dragon. You were led to a clearing where you said a trial was needed before you could actually meet with the metallic dragons. You landed in this clearing and found yourself surrounded by these metallic dragons. And then you fought the leader of them, Protanther, the gold worm dragon. He almost killed all of you, but decided not to after you did about a quarter of his HP. You laid into some good shots. You fought valiantly. Good job. You made your
Almost
way.
killed us? Wait, hold on. I was the only one that took damage, okay? And
Could
he...
have one shot a bunch of y'all. He just didn't do it. Let's say the
Fine.
fight was rough. We'll just put it that way. After that, you flew to a fortress where it seemed that a bunch of metallic dragons were gathering, and you were led to a meeting room as you had been invited to the table with these metallic dragons at this point after passing the trial. The council has gone on for a little bit now. It seems that most of the dragons were fine with just not teaming up with the humanoid races at all with the Council of Waterdeep. They were just going to do their own thing and attack the cult themselves. Though a couple of them did seem to want to work in conjunction with them to try to spare as many lives as possible, as a fight directly with the cultists with just the metallic dragons could be costly. You've gone back and forth with all these metallic dragons and discovered that a few of them had wrongs done to them in the past that they want righted, so apologies and returned items and such. And you've all done your best to agree to that, fearing, a bit of recompense maybe from the council, but you were sent to this place as their representatives, with, essentially all of their power at your back. So you do feel that maybe you're able to make these consensuses in their name without being hated, maybe.
Concessions.
This whole time it's been going on, one of these dragons has caught your eye especially, Rogar. The copper dragon representative named Taz McKella has been started out by eyeing you and Maximilian, the two dragonborn especially, with a bit of disdain in her eyes. And as the meeting went on, everyone talking back and forth and such, her focus centered on you. And you just noticed as the last two stopped speaking that she's staring at you and then eyeing the rapier at your hip. And as she does so, you see Protanther's gaze turn towards her, being the last of the dragons to speak. Once again, he says, Taz McKella, you seem to have taken note of one of our friends here. Something on your mind? And once again, this rich tenor of Taz McKella pipes in as she eyes over Rogar. She says, yes, actually. Initially, I didn't care one way or another, whether we worked with the humanoids or not, but you, as she looks over at Rogar, you have something that belonged to me. That rapier was once a part of my hoard. It was stolen by a smooth-talking dragonborn long in the past. It's been some time, a couple of 100 years, I'm sure. But that does still belong to me. I would very much like to see it returned.
Okay, yeah, I can return it when we're done our business here.
With that, she smiles a bit, looking at you and says, No, 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 no. That is my property. It belongs to me. I would see it returned now.
Is there some kind of compensation that I can get in the meantime? Because I kind of have grown accustomed to having a useful weapon.
With that, she tilts her head, says, No. I would be willing to go along with this plan to work with the humanoids and such, as well as those of my color that I speak for. That being said, how can I trust you adventurers or the council you represent if you keep things that you know do not belong to you in your possession and refuse to return them?
I did not refuse.
We also don't know. We only have your word. Not to call you a liar, but I do not know anything.
With that, she nods, says, Yes, I can see that. That's logical. She looks across the table over towards Elia. Says, Would you mind? I think you have the adequate spells for this. With that, Elia nods. Says, I can figure out the lore behind this weapon, its history, if you would permit me to do so, Rogar.
Sure, yeah. I have no qualms against that.
With that, she nods, holding out her hands, whole palm up to have you place the rapier in her hands. Says there is a spell called Legend Lore that I know. It allows me to bring to mind a summary of events surrounding an item or a person. If you permit me to see your weapon there, I'll be able to glean insight on its history.
Yeah, I'd much like to know where this rapier has been in its history.
With that, she nods as you unsheath the rapier and hand it out to her. She leans over it. She says, This will take a few minutes. Be patient, please. You see her eyes close in concentration as she begins casting the spell Legend Lore, which does take 10 minutes to cast it. After 10 minutes conclude, her eyes opening back up, she looks down at the blade and says, There's a lot of blood on this weapon. But what Tasmakella says is true. It was stolen from her hoard some time ago by a rogue named Argon. He took it and seemingly passed it down a few generations before it was sold, being regarded as a useless artifact afterwards. And it seems it came into your possession after that.
Well, I mean, if the sword is rightfully hers.
With that, Elia hands the rapier back to you, Rogar. Says, This is a matter for you two to settle. I only speak of what I saw with the spell. And she returns back to her seat. As that concludes, Tasmakella looks over you and says, There you have it. What I say is true, but it is your choice whether you keep it or return it to its rightful owner, myself.
Kura leans into Rogar. Ask to purchase it from her. She likes other shiny things.
Good point. Would there be a price that you'd be willing to part with it?
There is none. I simply want it returned to me.
Far
Kara.
be for me to be greedy. appreciate
Sure, puts her hand on Rogar's shoulder. I think you have to give her the sword.
it. I do.
We'll get you a new one, a shinier one.
Yeah, I'll hand it to her as cordially as I can.
All right. And she holds out her hands towards you as you do so and looks down at it. You see her trailing as she takes hold of the weapon, holding it slightly awkwardly, but still holding it firmly in her hand. She strokes down the circular blade of it and looks over and says, "Yes, this was mine. Thank you for being forthright and honest and returning it to its rightful owner." And with that, she sits back down, setting the rapier in front of her on the table, and looks back towards Protanther and says, "Now that this business is settled, I have no qualms working with the humanoids, and I'd be eager to do so. Just as that display was now of honesty and integrity. If that is what they represent, and if others share their same ideals, then I welcome the opportunity to be able to work alongside them." With that, Protanther nods, looking over everyone, says, "Very well. It seems that everyone, with stipulations of concessions being met, is mostly satisfied. There are still some questions to be answered, but I suppose those could be taken care of at a later date, unless you would like to take care of them now." He lets the question hang in the air.
If they are not required, in this race against time, then perhaps they can be addressed, at a later date.
With that, Protanther nods, says, "Very well. I hope that it is you we speak to, or someone who shares your ideals going forward. Otherwise, things could get convoluted. But as of now, the Council of Waterdeep has our supports. We will hold off our attack for the time being and work alongside the Council as allies, even as friends." With that, he nods towards the other dragons. You see pretty much everyone. Tazmakella kind of shrugs a bit, still seeming a bit neutral towards everything, but everyone else seems pretty satisfied by the way the meeting went. They all nod to you, bowing ever so slightly towards Protanther in reverence to him. And with that, he looks over you once again, says, "Very well. You will be returned to Waterdeep or wherever else you would like to go. Elia has agreed to do this already. No harm, of course, will befall you by me or my kin. Elia will act as our representative on the council going forward and will relay their decisions to us." With that, he nods towards Elia, who looks at you, nodding back and forth. He says, "Very well. That will be all then. I beg all of you to take preparations. This will be a difficult fight, regardless of this alliance or not. The cult is strong. They have summoned many of the chromatic dragons to their side who fight for them. It will take all of our combined effort to be able to win this fight when it does start." And with that, he stands up, the other dragons doing the same. Couple of them leave without saying much, just kind of nodding to you. You see Elia lingering and waiting for you. Protanther nods to you all as he leaves, as well as Eleuthera, who already seems kind of lost in thought as he's leaving. Niamher stops by next to Max, kind of patting him on the shoulder and says, "Oh, do be good to give Dala my best when you see her. It's been a few years since I saw the girl."
That we will.
And with that, he continues out of the room. Taz McKellar still lingers a bit, looking once again a bit over Rogar and Maximilian, which you kind of understand now as she's been slighted by a dragonborn in the past. But she nods to you both curtly and respectfully and then exits the chamber. And then you see you're left alone within it with Elia. She eyes you all over once again and says, well, that went well. We'll be able to work together. Of course, with full support if you're able to meet our demands as you promised, which for the heroes of the council should be fine, I think. As she says, I think there's one more thing we must take care of before we leave, however. Please follow me. And with that, she turns and starts heading up the stairs out of this grand chamber, heading kind of in the same way that you entered through, back to the stronghold. She leads you back outside, and you see, once again, all of these metallic dragons, gathered in this large courtyard, several hundred feet squared off. You know, it's a huge courtyard with all these dragons in it, already being a little bit packed. Before you, as you make your way out, you see Protanther once again, much as you saw him out in the field where you had fought him. As you walk forward, Elia walks up towards him and such, and then you all hear Protanther's voice going through your mind. He says, "You have done well to speak for your people, and you are our allies now, and no allies of ours will go into battle or go into represent us empty-handed." And with that, you see his head bowing a bit, and you see this almost looks like the smoke that had covered you during your fight, but it shimmers with this gold flecks and such as it appears before him, kind of coalescing a bit into this slip, and then it widens. And those of you that casting kind of recognize arcane energy opening up a pocket dimension before you. As the pocket dimension begins to close and the gold shimmer goes away, you see several items laying before Protanther. And Elia walks up, kneeling beside them, looking them over, and kind of nods, and then looks back towards you all and motions for you to join her. Protanther bows his head once again towards all of you. He says, "There is much work to be done before the fight. I will be gathering more allies. If you need our guidance or wisdom, please do not hesitate to ask Elia for it. Safe journeys, my friends." And with that, he turns, and with one mighty leap, jumps into the sky, his huge bulk being lifted by his great wings as he flies up into the air. You see all manners of the metallic dragons all around you, bounding into the sky and following after him. A minute or so passes, and you find yourselves now alone in the courtyard with Elia, who has several items. Yeah, just give yourself the visual there. This gargantuan golden dragon, bowing his head towards you, and then hundreds of metallic dragons flying through the air.
Glinting in the sky,
Mm-hmm.
It's a giant, oh man, just watching that minute in reverence.
So with that, you wander forward after looking at the sight that you kind of think to yourself and probably realize that no mortal has probably seen such a display of so many dragons in one place. But you move forward and see that there are, in fact, items laying at Elia's feet that she points down to as you approach. She says, "Some boons for you. We had made plans beforehand if you satisfied our needs and we were to be allies to reward you for such. These items are useful and some distasteful for us, but for your ongoing adventures, I do think they will be very useful." As you look down, you see 3 arrows that are huge, not necessarily in length, but their width and girth and such is much larger than normal, and they're tainted with black. You see a set of plate armor that has streaks of blue running through it. You see a rapier, a very familiar looking rapier. Rogar, you immediately notice that the gentleman is laying there before you. And you see a cape laying next to all of these items that has a red hue to it, some gold filigree going down the sides, and has a hood on it as well. With that, Elia looks towards you all, holding out her hand, says, "Please, these are yours." Taz McKella agreed that for your forthrightness and honesty, Rogar, this item has been given to you permanently. She holds no sentimental value to it, but you passed her test for your honesty. It is yours now, forever.
You gotta love good dragons.
I was so scared y'all weren't gonna fucking give up the rapier.
Or did you feel us all just kind of like...
she's still kind of.
Yeah, we're kind of like, can we give it away? Because I built her up to be like kind of an asshole, and I was like, well, let's see what happens.
like all of us, like I imagine us weighing it over, like looking at each other, like,
There's a warped version of that timeline now where Damien says, "I introduce her to the rapier," and then
stabs her. I introduced her to the gentleman, and then that's how your party died, actually.
that was it.
So...
Can you give us a rundown again? I lost. Yeah,
so basically, what you find before you, going through the time, Elia explains what all these items are. She says the 3 arrows laying at your feet that she spoke of as being distasteful to her are arrows of dragon slaying. They can be fired from any bow, and if they hit a dragon, they do a bunch of damage to said dragon. I think it's like 3d6 or something. No, I think it's more than that.
Damien, don't you already have a couple of those?
I have 2 of those.
Okay, you've got enough to wipe out a dragon.
Good man.
Oh, you see a sword as well. Sorry, a long sword. I forgot about that. So yes, DC 17 Constitution saving throw, or take an extra 60-10 piercing damage, or half as much on a successful one from the arrow of dragon saying. Super good for those of you that use arrows against dragons.
They have to fail a 17 con save, right?
I mean, it's high, and even then, it's half damage.
Man, that guy was throwing like plus 11s at shit.
Well, you go against an ancient dragon, yeah, it's not going to be super useful, but...
I'm just saying.
The little guys?
Use it on the little ones, yeah.
Let's make mincemeat of those guys real quick. If there's ever dragon ads, you go ahead.
I imagine what Marcus is going to do is shoot a lizard.
I hope Damien knocks one of those and he fucking crits.
That'd be disgusting. The plate armor that is presented before you with these blue streaks are it's a plate armor of lightning resistance. No +1s or anything on it, but as long as you can wear plate armor, you'll have the benefits of plate armor and resistance to lightning damage.
The only plate armor user in the group looks around. Why are you looking at me?
Why are you looking at me? The cape is explained as a cape of the mountebank. It's one imbued with magic, very powerful magic. It allows you to cast the spell Dimension Door as an action, once per day, essentially.
Oh boy. My first vote goes for Damien, right?
That's class specific, isn't it? I think I remember that item.
Class specific?
Yeah,
No?
You have to be a certain class.
Nope.
Oh wait, no, sorry, I'm thinking of the spell.
Nope.
Yeah.
If it was a spell scroll or something, then yeah, you'd have to be able to cast it. But nope, anybody can use this. Doesn't require attunement either. And finally, the longsword sitting before you has a bit of a jagged edge to it, kind of flaring out, almost like a scimitar, but not quite as curved. or rather, no, sorry, the blade is straight. The hilt of it winds back and forth, almost like two fangs set in opposite directions on it. She refers to this thing as another distasteful instrument, as it is a dragon slayer longsword. While wielding it, you get a +1 bonus to attack and damage rolls, so it's a +1 weapon. But when you hit a dragon with it, the dragon takes an extra 3d6 damage. So,
That's
whoever
not bad.
wants these items, I will put them in your inventory.
Cape to Damien and sword to Willie.
Yeah, my sword's my focus. So I mean, I can use it when. Well, I mean, if I'm not casting spells, it works out really well.
Yeah, or I mean, hold your sword in your offhand, use it as a focus, and only
Shield.
do. Oh yeah, you do have a shield.
It's still. I can carry more than one sword. I'm cool with that.
Yarp. All right, so Dragon Slayer to Max. Everybody in favor, Cave of the Mountebank to go to Rogar.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yep.
Dimension Door for Rogue's pretty good, and all the rest of us have movement ability.
Yeah, one way or another.
Plus, I believe it obscures where you pop out, so he gets like instant advantage.
Yeah, it lightly
That's like-
obscures. It doesn't hide you. It's not darkness, essentially.
No, but it might be enough in like dim light or something.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's in your handouts now. I guess Damien's going to use the arrows too, so add 3 more.
Yep.
And the plate armor, I'm assuming, goes to Elia.
It can sit in my inventory. Yes.
Okay. All right. So as you find yourselves being given all of these items to help you on your travels, namely ones very specific to what you've been fighting as of late, these dragons. As you did fairly well with that encounter, bringing up several of them behind the DM screen. Basically, they all started out at different levels of attitude towards you all, and you brought 4 out of 5 of them up to friendly. So, good job. You got the full loot table, essentially, versus just half of it. So yeah, you have these items now. You all start setting aside for future battles and such. And Elia looks at you all as you finish divvying out the loot, nodding and such as well. If you're ready to continue back to other business, where is it you would like to go? Back to Waterdeep? Somewhere else?
We want to stop by that forest.
Misty Forest.
Part of our agreement was to get an apology. So we can assist him, and maybe that'll be enough for him to, give that formal apology.
That's a good place to start.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we can even leverage our assistance.
Okay. So, asking Elia to take you to the Misty Forest, then?
Maybe not directly into it. Maybe drop us off a little ways out. They've had
Maybe a little
If
outside.
there's a clearing inside of the Misty Forest, away from people, that'd be fine.
You can set us down pretty much anywhere. Just want to make sure it's safe for her and doesn't give us problems immediately.
And I mean, she doesn't need to go dropping us off into a dragon fight.
All right. So with that, Elia, or Otaaryliakkarnos, nods to you, says, I can take you down to the southern end. I'm sure that's where you would like to start at the very least. There have been dragon attacks down on the southern end, down towards the Grey Peak Mountains and the city of Loudwater. And after that, I will leave you there and continue on to Waterdeep to let the members of the council know that are still there that a consensus has been met. And she thinks for a moment. daintily reaching up and touching the side of her mouth. I think I'll let you discuss the concessions that have been agreed upon during the next council session. Wouldn't want to ruin your fun of that experience.
I believe it best that we communicate with them. I think the news might come better from our lips than yours.
With that, Elia smirks and says, I'm in agreement of that. So, with that, she nods, turning away from you and once again shimmering her form into this huge silver dragon. And then, once again, leaning out a leg for you to climb on her back. Once you do so, she bounds back into the sky, much as all the other dragons did just a few minutes prior. And you find yourselves heading to the southwest towards the Misty Forest within the High Forest. But that is where we're going to go ahead and end the session for the evening.
Okay.
After the Misty Forest, we should check out Yartar. I heard there's some things down in the sewer that need to die.
No,
Good
there's
luck with that.
the portal.
If you need a map,
Really
Havoc,
young.
I'll give you a map.
Send that on over.
I think our party of level 11 characters might do a little better.
I would hope so. But those things are really scary, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
Dragon
Stone
be
Skull's
fucking
the only one who will
nervous.
mess with the valves in this party.
That's true.
Stone Skull's going to be the one that fails that dominate check and then starts swinging for the fences on all of you.
Yeah, I've got hold person. We're good.
I got the spell magic. Hey, look. Well, I saw how strong Stone Salt was getting. You better believe I came prepared to unfrenzy his ass. Like, no.
I'll just
No.
cast haste on him and then drop it.
Hey.
He's stunned for a
I can
second.
target what I take off.
Yep. Spell magic can do that. It's a good thing to have.
So
Especially
where
with
is the
good,
Misty Forest on the map? Because I've been looking all over and I'm blind.
It's within the High Forest.
Oh, okay.
If
All
I
right.
remember correctly. I'll have to double check. I'm pretty sure it is.
All right. Gonna in-stream, be right back. All right. So that's going to do it for tonight. Thank you for tuning in. As always, we are going to see who's online. See who we can go to. Welcome party's playing. We'll probably maybe go over there. Maybe. Yeah, Dumpstat's playing too. Let's go to Dumpstat. Yeah, we're gonna go over and say hi to them. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Appreciate having you. Don't forget, tomorrow is our Storm King's Thunder playthrough amongst the Giants. Hope you tune in for it, 7:30 Eastern. That's gonna do it for us tonight, though. I will see you 7:30. And don't forget, every day, the day after every session, we do a replay. If you missed a big part of this, first thing tomorrow morning, we're going to start right back up. So feel free to tune in for that. That's going to be it. Have a good night, guys. See you soon.